Make her chase you even when she's pulling away. Sounds like a paradox, right? But it's not. In fact, it's one of the most advanced and misunderstood principles in seduction. Most men panic when a woman starts to become distant. They feel her energy shift. They sense her emotional withdrawal. And immediately, they start doing what almost every man instinctively does. They push harder. They text more. They ask questions. They offer reassurance. They try to fix whatever is wrong. But here's the cold truth. That reaction is exactly what kills attraction. Because when she starts pulling away and you respond by chasing, by investing more than she does, you flip the polarity. You become the one seeking. You become the one proving. And just like that, she loses the very tension that made her interested in you to begin with. Here's what most men don't get. Pulling away is not always a sign that she's losing interest. Sometimes it's just a test. Subconscious or not, women test men constantly. Not because they're evil or manipulative, but because they're wired to search for emotional strength. When she pulls back, she's asking a question without using words. Are you the kind of man who stays centered when things get uncertain? Most men fail this test. But if you pass it, not by talking, not by explaining, but by embodying calm detachment, her curiosity reignites. Because now you've shown her something rare. You've shown her you're not moved by fear, that you're not emotionally reactive, that you won't chase validation. And that, my friend, is magnetic. This is where seduction becomes psychological. Women don't fall for logic. They don't respond to desperate explanations or declarations. They respond to energy, to emotional shifts, to the space you create when you don't react. That space allows her to feel the absence of your presence. And if you've created real emotional impact before she pulled away, then that absence starts to burn. It creates contrast, and contrast is what makes her think, what makes her replay your words, what makes her feel the gap between what she expected and what she's actually getting. That feeling is the beginning of the chase. But for this to work, you have to reverse your instincts. When she pulls back, you pull back further, not out of spite, not to play a game, but to restore the balance of power, to signal that your self-worth is not tied to her mood swings, that you're not dependent on her attention to feel like a man. Neil Strauss called this inner game, the silent confidence that you carry beneath the surface, no matter what's happening externally. And it's that energy, calm, grounded, quietly powerful, that makes a woman stop in her tracks and reconsider. Why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he chasing? Did I lose him? Was he even that into me? And that curiosity becomes tension, and that tension becomes obsession. When a woman pulls away, most men go into overdrive. They overcommunicate, they overexplain, they try to overcompensate. And in doing so, they become predictable, boring, easy to read. But if instead you respond with poise, if you let her wonder, you create mystery. And mystery is what triggers imagination. And imagination is 1,000 times more powerful than presence when it comes to seduction. Because in your absence, she starts building stories. She starts projecting. She starts creating versions of you in her head. Versions that are often more compelling than anything you could say in a message. That's why the man who knows how to be silent, how to sit in uncertainty, wins. Not because he's manipulative, but because he understands emotional dynamics. Because he's attuned to the deeper rhythms of attraction. Attraction isn't built by proximity, it's built by tension. And when that tension is broken by over-availability, the attraction dissolves. But when that tension is amplified by your stillness, by your focus on your life, by your refusal to chase, something primal activates in her. She begins to crave the connection she once felt. She begins to question her own emotions. She begins to search for the version of you that wasn't always trying to please her. The version of you that made her feel something unpredictable, something real. Now here's the hard truth. Most guys can't do this. Not because they're not capable, but because they're emotionally weak, because they confuse silence with rejection, because they think distance means failure, because they need a woman's reassurance to feel secure. And that's why women pull away in the first place, because they can sense the imbalance. They can feel when a man is leaning too far forward, when his energy is too eager, when he's too available. That availability feels safe, but not exciting. And excitement is what drives feminine desire. You need to become the man who triggers that excitement, not by performance, not by pretending, but by building your life so fully that her absence doesn't shake your center, so that when she pulls back, you naturally give her space. Because you're busy, because you're focused, because you're in motion. And when she sees that, when she feels that she's not the center of your emotional world, she feels the urge to step back in, not because you forced it, but because your presence starts to feel valuable again. Most men interpret distance as danger. They feel her pull away and immediately assume something is wrong, that she's slipping through their fingers, that they're losing their chance. That urgency, that desperation, contaminates everything they do next. They send long texts. They open up emotionally too soon. They try to win her back with effort, attention, words, forgetting that attraction doesn't respond to effort. It responds to presence. And presence is only powerful when it comes from a place of detachment. Because here's the truth, a woman feels more attraction toward the man she's slightly unsure about than the one who constantly reassures her. Let's take this to a deeper level. When a woman pulls away, she's instinctively trying to reassert her emotional position. Maybe something felt too easy, too available, too certain. The moment she senses she's in control of the emotional dynamic, her feminine polarity contracts. She loses that spark. The tension dissolves. That's why many women unconsciously create space. They want to feel the uncertainty again. They want to re-experience the thrill of wondering if you're still invested. And if you collapse into her pullback, you confirm what she feared, that she already has you. And the hunt is over. But if you match her distance with even deeper stillness, you reignite the very desire that started this all. That's the paradox most men never learn. Sometimes the only way to bring her closer is to let her go. Not dramatically, not emotionally, but calmly, like a man who's already full. Like a man who can walk away at any moment, not because he doesn't care, but because he values himself more than the illusion of connection. That energy? It's intoxicating. It's addictive. It's the difference between being the guy she tolerates and the man she obsesses over when she's alone at night, scrolling through her camera roll, staring at your pictures, and wondering why she feels this sudden emptiness that only you seem to fill. Let's talk about control, the silent game that plays underneath every romantic interaction. When she pulls away, she's silently asking, "Do you need me to validate you?" And the man who answers that question with calm silence, with unapologetic focus on himself, immediately flips the dynamic. He becomes the emotional reference point, because now she feels the shift. She feels that the leash she thought she had on you just snapped. And once that illusion breaks, the woman doesn't feel power, she feels loss. And loss is one of the strongest triggers of female emotional re-engagement. Not because she wants to control you again, but because your detachment forces her to reevaluate her feelings. You see, true masculine energy is not reactive. It doesn't chase emotion. It doesn't demand resolution. It holds space. And in that space, a woman is forced to meet you, not with words, but with energy. She starts showing up more. She sends the first message. She becomes more affectionate. Not because you manipulated her, but because your detachment reminded her of your value. You're not afraid to lose her. You're not negotiating your worth. You're simply anchored in your own world. And that anchoring, that emotional self-sufficiency, pulls her back like gravity. Now let's flip perspectives. Imagine her experience. She was used to you being present, available, safe. And then something shifted. You stopped reacting. You stopped reaching. You started living. Suddenly, she's no longer the center of attention. Suddenly, your energy is focused inward, not outward. That shift doesn't just confuse her, it excites her. Because now, she feels that you are the one she's trying to decode. That you are the mystery again. That feeling, that emotional uncertainty, wakes up her attraction. Because in that space, her imagination activates. And again, when a woman imagines you, she desires you more than when she simply sees you. This is the point where many men fail. They break the silence too early. They can't sit in that uncertainty long enough for her to start chasing. They reach out because they're scared of losing her. They text because they miss her. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If she pulls away and you chase her back, you're not showing affection. you're showing weakness. Because the strongest display of masculine power isn't in what you say, it's in what you don't do. The texts you don't send, the questions you don't ask, the apologies you don't owe. That restraint? It's louder than any message. And it's not just about doing less, it's about being more. More focused, more grounded, more ambitious. You shift your attention from her to your path, your fitness, your business, your mission. You don't make her absence the center of your mind. You make your evolution the priority. And when she senses that, she comes back different. She comes back more open, more curious, more invested. Because the man you're becoming in her absence is more attractive than the man who begged for her attention. This is where seduction becomes transformation, not just in how she sees you, but in how you see yourself. You start to realize that you never needed to chase, that your energy alone, when directed inward, becomes your most seductive force, that by honoring your space you increase your value, that by embracing distance you awaken desire, and most importantly, that by letting go of her, you invite her to come back with real intention. Now let's imagine she starts coming back. Her messages become more frequent. She starts liking your photos again. Maybe she reacts to your stories, or casually asks how you've been. Most men at this point drop the ball. They confuse contact with commitment. They think her reappearance means they've won her back. So what do? They go right back to over-investing. They flood her with attention again. They break the very tension that reignited her curiosity. And once more, she begins to fade. Not because she wants to, but because the man gave her everything too soon. Again. Here's the truth. When she starts chasing, don't meet her halfway. Meet her with mystery. Meet her with subtle intrigue, with patience, with selective energy. You're not rejecting her. You're regulating your presence. You're teaching her that re-entering your world isn't as easy as snapping her fingers. There's a cost now. Not in arrogance, but in value. Because your attention is no longer free. It's earned. It's sacred. And when a woman feels she has to earn your presence, she becomes emotionally invested in ways most men will never experience. This is what the masters of seduction, men like Mystery, Green, or even Don Juan in ancient literature, all understood. Attraction isn't about always being close. It's about being desired. And desire is not logical. It's emotional. It lives in uncertainty, in challenge, in anticipation. So when she starts returning, your job is not to give her certainty. Your job is to give her experience. That means being present, but not fully revealed. Open, but still unpredictable. Affectionate, but not emotionally dependent. Let's go even further. The man she truly chases is the man who continues to evolve while she's chasing, not the one who pauses his progress just to give her all his attention again. She might come back for a piece of the man she remembers, but she stays for the man she never saw coming. The man who used the space she created not to complain or collapse, but to grow, to sharpen, to elevate. And when she senses that growth, that you're even more attractive than before, that's when she falls. That's when she questions her worth in your presence. And when a woman starts questioning her worth around a man without feeling disrespected, she starts fighting for him. But don't mistake this for playing hard to get. This isn't a game, it's a standard. It's you understanding that any woman's attention is a privilege, not a need. And if she wants to stay in your life, she has to contribute something more than a pretty face or fleeting emotions. She has to bring softness, peace, support, femininity. Because if you've built yourself right, you're no longer moved by beauty alone. You're moved by alignment. And when you hold that standard, calmly, without pressure, she rises to meet it, or she walks. Either way, you win. Let me give you a subtle but powerful shift in perspective. She's not the prize. You are, not because you're entitled, but because you've done the work. Because you've faced the discomfort of silence, because you've built discipline in the storm of emotion, because you didn't chase when it was easier to beg. And that kind of strength is rare. Women meet men all the time. But men who can stand still in chaos? Men who can inspire respect without speaking much? That's rare. That's unforgettable. And you know what happens when you become unforgettable? She starts to orient her behavior around you. She becomes more emotionally invested in your approval. She watches what she says. She checks your reactions. She becomes careful with your time. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy now commands it. Your self-respect created a gravitational field. And once she enters it, she's not just chasing attention. She's chasing your recognition. That's the level where obsession is born, where a woman starts imagining not just seeing you again, but belonging to you. But all of this hinges on one thing: your consistency. If you collapse now, if you go back to the man she once knew, the one who tried too hard, who gave too much, too fast, the spell breaks. But if you stay the course, if you remain grounded, measured, slow to reward, deliberate in your words, mysterious in your silence, she won't just return, she'll attach. Because the man you've become is not a phase, it's a reality. And that reality is now her new addiction. Once she's back in your orbit, what separates you from every man she's known before isn't how much you do, it's how much you withhold with presence. See, most guys are quick to reward. The moment she shows signs of interest, they shower her with approval, with validation, with time. But the man who truly keeps her hooked is the one who understands that reward has to be earned, not through games, but through rhythm, through a dance of energy, where your attention remains selective, your affection intentional, and your availability scarce but valuable. At this stage, what matters most is the emotional environment you create when she's near you again, because now she's comparing every moment with you, to the silence, to the distance, to the man she feared she had lost. That contrast is fresh in her nervous system. Use it, don't erase it, don't act as if nothing happened. Let the silence you held carry weight. Let her feel that getting you back wasn't easy. Let her feel the echo of the distance, even in your presence. That's what makes her appreciate every second she spends with you now, because it feels earned. And what is earned is valued. Deeply. There's something powerful in being the man who doesn't flinch when she gets emotional again. She might test you. She might provoke you, subtly or directly, to see if you're still that steady force she felt during your absence. Don't rise to it. Don't explain yourself. Don't lose your center. Just breathe, observe, speak less. Let your energy speak for you. That calm dominance, that unshakable posture, is what convinces her, on a cellular level, that she's safe to surrender. Not controlled, not manipulated, but emotionally led. And women crave leadership, not the aggressive kind, but the emotional kind. The man who doesn't need to control her, because he already controls himself. From here, you must master one key element that cements her emotional bond: novelty with instability. What does that mean? It means you remain the same man, grounded, directed, purposeful, but you keep surprising her emotionally, not with gifts or plans, but with presence. One day your energy is playful and distant, the next, deep and connected. One day, you make her laugh. The next, you look into her eyes and hold tension without speaking. These shifts are subtle, but they're everything, because they make her feel alive around you. She can't predict you fully, and that uncertainty creates continual attraction, even in closeness. Now let's touch on a powerful principle from evolutionary psychology: emotional anchoring. If you want her to attach to you, you need to be the man who gives her the strongest emotional peak she's ever felt, and follows it with just enough space to make her crave it again. This anchoring works like a song stuck in her head. It's not about logic, it's about the intensity of experience. If you make her feel something other men never could, and you tie those feelings to your presence, she starts to see you as the source of her emotional aliveness. And that's where true power begins. What makes this powerful isn't just the feelings you awaken in her. It's the self-image she begins to develop in your presence. A woman stays where she feels like her best self. If she feels more feminine, more expressive, more emotionally awakened around you than with anyone else, then being near you becomes addictive. And that addiction, it's not about physical attraction. It's psychological. It's identity-based. You've now become part of how she sees herself. And that kind of bond doesn't break easily. But be warned, this power only holds if you remain unattached to outcome. If at any point you start depending on her affection to feel validated, she'll sense the shift. And that shift, it breaks everything. Because once you start needing her again, you become predictable. Predictability kills polarity. Polarity is what maintains tension. And tension is the blood of seduction. So remain still. Even when she opens up, even when she begins to invest more, even when she tells you how much she missed you, hold your center, receive it, appreciate it, but don't collapse into it. Keep your rhythm, keep your structure, keep your edge. You don't want her to feel like she has you again. You want her to feel like she's earning access to your world, that your world is vast, that it moves forward with or without her, that she's lucky to be part of it, not because you say so, but because your life reflects it. That's when her ego melts. That's when she begins to see you as more than a man. She sees you as a force, a direction, a frequency that elevates her every time she's around you. That's what makes her not only chase you, but fight to keep you. Everything you've just discovered, only a few men on this planet actually live. Not because it's complicated, but because it requires the kind of emotional discipline that breaks patterns. Most men are reactive. Most men chase. Most men fold the second a woman shifts her energy. But the man who can stay still, grounded, present, unaffected, becomes unforgettable. Not just to her, but to every woman who crosses his path. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be chosen. You're here to choose yourself so powerfully that she feels the weight of your absence before she even fully understands your presence. That kind of man. The one who turns emotional space into attraction, who turns silence into seduction, who turns growth into obsession, is the man who doesn't just make her come back. He makes her stay, by choice, by emotion, by inner necessity. But this isn't about one woman. This is about you, your evolution, your standard, your power. You've just been handed a mirror, not just to see her differently, but to see yourself differently. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You don't need tricks. You don't need lines. You don't need to convince her. You need to embody the man that makes her question every other man she's ever met. And if this message hits you, not just in your mind, but in your gut, in your chest, in that deep place that knows you were born to move differently, then I want to hear from you. Right now. Drop a comment and tell me which moment in this video shifted your perspective. What line pierced through your old patterns? What truth woke something in you that you hadn't seen before? Share it below, because your story, your transformation, could be the exact spark another man needs to begin his own. If you want to keep going deeper into this world, into advanced seduction psychology, masculine energy, emotional mastery, and the art of becoming a man women chase without even understanding why, then subscribe. Hit that like button. And share this with one man who needs to wake up. This isn't just a video. It's a reminder of who you were born to be. And if she's pulling away right now, just remember, the man who stands still is the one who makes her come running. Stay sharp, stay grounded, she'll feel it. And you? You won't have to chase her. She'll chase you.